Hello everyone, and welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Today, thanks to the team at HRO and Aston Martin Reading, I'm bringing you an in-depth exterior and interior tour of this 2019 Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. This DBS, which is finished in hammerhead silver, and many other new and previous models can be found at HRO and Aston Martin Reading, so please click the direct link in the video description for more information. The DBS name first appeared at Aston Martin in 1967, where it was based on the DB6. However, the DBS predecessor to the new DBS came out in 2008. It was a more potent version of the DB9, just as the original DBS was to the DB6. Aston's latest Super GT's name is now twinned with Superleggera, meaning super light, and comes with a lightweight bonded aluminium chassis evolved from that found in the DB11. Despite this, the DBS Superleggera is very much its own car. It comes in at 4,712mm long, 2,146mm wide, including the wing mirrors, 1,280mm high, and has a dry weight of 1,693kg. Before we can take a look at the engine, we first need to unlatch the bonnet by depressing the button found to the right of the driver. Once unlatched, the clamshell bonnet can be manually pulled up in the inverted fashion, and then self-supported on two struts, as seen below. Looking closer at the bonnet, we can see its lightweight carbon fibre construction and quilted heat shielding on either side. A gold and carbon pack can be spec'd for the under-bonnet area. This latest DBS is powered by a front mid-mounted, Aston Martin-derived 5.2-litre twin-turbo V12 that produces 715 brake horsepower and 900 Nm of torque, which is all sent to the rear wheels. This output produces a 0 to 62 mph or 100 km/h time of 3.4 seconds and a top speed of 211 mph. There's also a brace that provides enhanced rigidity and control, and a final inspection plate found centrally. With the bonnet up, it was a good opportunity to take a closer look at the new enhanced side strakes and curlicues. These help to allow turbulent air to easily flow out of the wheel arches to improve high-speed stability and reduce lift. Once finished with, the bonnet can be lowered back into position with a light press. This car is sitting on front and rear 21-inch forged Y-spoke duotone gloss and satin black alloy wheels. A 21-inch forged lightweight option is also available. Braking power comes from standard drilled and ventilated carbon ceramic discs at each corner, 410mm at the front and 360mm at the rear. Stability comes from double wishbones at the front and a complex multi-link setup at the rear. These come with 3-stage adaptive dampers, fitted with sensors to help analyse and adjust to real-time driving conditions. As mentioned before, the DBS is rear-wheel drive and comes with a mechanical limited slip differential with added torque vectoring, with this system using the brakes to slow individual wheels for enhanced cornering. Now we've finished the model overview, we can begin the exterior in-depth tour from front to back. At the bottom, we find a gloss carbon fibre splitter that curves in at the corners. This splitter helps to reduce lift at the front and, in conjunction with the air dam underneath, speed up air towards the diffuser. On either side of this, there are air intakes for the radiators, with outer vents that help air to flow laterally. Centrally, we find the new gloss black honeycomb front grille. Moving up, the new high and low beam full LED headlights with side indicators can be found on either side. These come with flowing LED daytime running light strips and intricate feathering to the panel below. The exterior of the long clamshell bonnet can be seen behind. It is constructed with 2 outer and 2 inner dynamic or power lines that help to create a sense of speed. There are 2 unmissable air outlets with Superleggera insignia, finished here with gloss black grills. These can also come with optional carbon fins. Moving back, we find a large windscreen with 2 wipers below. Above this is the roof, here finished in optional gloss black, but can also come in paint colour and gloss carbon fibre. We can now move down and focus on the lateral aspect of the DBS. The side louvres that exit the curlicues are finished in gloss black here, but can also be spec'd in gloss carbon fibre. Below these, we find quite dynamic side skirts that start with a vertical winged section to help channel the lateral airflow. Above this section, we find more chrome DBS insignia. Moving up, the mirror arms work as small wings that contribute to the car's aero efficiency. The mirrors themselves come in body colour as standard, but are spec'd in optional gloss, with carbon being a second option. These have lateral LED indicators and cameras underneath for the park assist system. Below and along, we find the classic Aston Martin integrated door handles. Behind and above these are intakes for the Airblade 2 system that sends air out of the open rear wing to create a virtual spoiler. Now moving to the rear of the car, we first find this large rear window with an LED brake light strip above it. To the right of this, we find the fuel tank flap. This can be opened with the light depressed thanks to its spring action. The petrol fuel tank itself has a capacity of 78 litres, with the car returning an estimated combined MPG of 22.9. Once finished with, the flap can be easily secured back into position with the light depress. Moving back, we find the fixed gloss carbon fibre spoiler. This comes with open sections behind it that act as the release for the Airblade 2 system. Moving down from this, we find the LED brake light strip that is a new hallmark for Aston Martin. The rear feathered LED lights have been smoked here, but can also come in the standard red appearance. There's further clean and crisp Aston Martin insignia below that departs from the crest. Continuing down, we find the rear view camera from the park assist system. The rear bumper section here is finished in gloss carbon, with reflectors on either side. Moving down from this section, we come to the two-fin double diffuser, with added vents to help control and speed up airflow even more. Despite its flowing form, the new DBS produces the highest amount of downforce for any series car at Aston Martin, 180 kilograms at Vmax. There are hexagonal grille sections above this for cooling. Let's hear how the dual outlets for the valve-controlled sports exhaust sound, first in GT at idle and then sport. Now we've finished the exterior in-depth tour, we can move inside. The key has buttons to lock, unlock and open the boot. There is a keyless entry system that makes entry easy. The handles are simple to locate, push out and grasp thanks to indentations at the rear. The monotone or single colour environment has been selected in this car. The interior is upholstered in obsidian black leather with optional cream truffle contrast stitching and piping, although Aston Martin calls this welt. The optional piano black inlay pack has also been selected for the central column and door centres, with the optional dark chrome surrounds. Satin silver and dark chrome with carbon are also available. We can now start the in-depth interior tour with the doors. The new DBS comes with double glazing for enhanced sound insulation. Below, the leather upholstered curved panel flattens out as we move along it. There's a large piano black panel central with a leather interior. As we move along, we find the integrated door handle, metal release and first speaker from the standard premium audio system. An optional B&O system is also available. The leather armrest is below it, with contrast stitching and piping with electric window and mirror controls and boot lid release further along. Finally, there's a slim storage area at the bottom of the door. Now moving into the car, the DBS has 120mm of ground clearance. The step sill area isn't high nor wide, so ingress and egress was a straightforward process. Now moving along the sill, we first find the standard brushed aluminium Aston Martin DBS sill plaque. Personalised options are also available. Moving up, we come to the bonnet release, parking brake, exterior light controls and cruise control limiter, and first manually adjustable air vent surrounded by a dark chrome inlay. Now sitting in the driver's seat, we are presented by the standard squared-off sports steering wheel, which can also be finished in gloss carbon. Now looking at the wheel more closely, moving down on the left-hand side, we find buttons for suspension, mic volume and mute, N-cool and a scroll wheel. Centrally, there's a leather upholstered section with the Aston wings and airbag underneath, and to the right, the drive mode selector, home and return, with another scroll wheel for the trip screen ahead, and a button to accept calls. The DBS has an 8-speed ZF transmission that can be used in full auto mode. Manual changing can be done using the paddles behind the wheel. As there is no emotional control unit as with older Astons, the car's ignition can be turned on by depressing the illuminated button to the left. The instrument cluster ahead is formed from 3 digital screens, from left to right: fuel level, engine temperature and outside temperature, rev gauge with central speedo, and the trip and information screen to the right. This is currently displaying mileage, current drive mode and time. From start and from reset trip info is next, range and MPG. We can then navigate into the main menu, where navigation is below. Then controls for the DAB digital radio. Media is next, for media via connected devices. Then telephone for calls and messages. The display for service information comes after, for tyre pressure and service information. The final screen provides information for general settings, such as assistance settings and factory defaults. By pressing the Drive Mode Select button to the right, we can move from GT to Sport and then Sport Plus, with the dash turning from white to red as we do so. Changing driving modes alters transmission and throttle response, damping, and opens the exhaust valves. As seen before, damping can be adjusted independently using the button on the left-hand side. Looking above, we find what Aston call their hooded sports binnacle over the instruments, with speakers on either side and centrally, and ventilation for demist along the leather upholstered dash. Below is the new 8-inch infotainment screen. The system has been inherited from Mercedes, but Aston have designed their own user interface for much of the system. The first menu screen is for navigation. Navigation itself is first, and then Qibla, which indicates which direction followers of Islam should pray in. Then a compass, with drive information and route flight after. Controls for the AM, FM and full DAB digital radio come next, with station icons. Media is next for CD, USB and AUX inputs. Telephone comes after, for telephone connectivity via Bluetooth, facilitating calls and messaging and access to the stored contacts database. Vehicle is next. In vehicle settings, we find options for acoustic lock feedback, automatic folding mirror function, automatic locking, tow-away protection, the interior motion sensor, and interior ambient lighting brightness. We can also access the 360-degree camera, which needs the engine to be on to use, and finally adjust time settings. After this, we come to system settings, where the user can adjust many features such as display, language, voice controls, the camera, and the Wi-Fi hotspot. The final two menus are to adjust time settings and turn the display off. Under the screen, we find two further manually adjustable air vents surrounded by dark chrome. Below, we find the now well-known PRND buttons for park, reverse, neutral and drive, with the illuminated keyless ignition centrally. This turns red when the brake is depressed, in preparation for engine ignition. Below this, we find two button arrays, in both touch and physical forms, for heating and ventilation. From left to right, passenger zone temperature and fan direction, fan speed, driver zone air direction and temperature. Moving down to the touch controls, optional 3-stage passenger heated seat, auto, menu, then the driver's optional 3-stage seat heating control. Below, we find the driver's optional seat ventilation, recirculation, rear and front demist, and the passenger's optional seat ventilation. The CD player is below this with power, volume and eject CD. Then direct access controls for telephone, media, airbag, radio, navigation, parking sensors, 360 park assist camera, start-stop, and then finally interior lock and unlock, split by the hazard light button. Under this, we find a small open storage area with the main control array for the infotainment system behind it. This consists of physical buttons and a scroll wheel and a touch-sensitive pad above it. The buttons are for return and favourite, with the same to the rear of the touchpad, but with skip track in between. Moving back, we find the long, leather upholstered armrest with further contrast stitching and piping. While most central armrests can be unlatched manually, this is electrically operated and can be controlled using the button found ahead of it, with a single touch and more continued force. Inside, we find an equally long but slim storage area with SD and USB connectivity, and two deployable cup holders towards the front. Once finished with, the lid can be easily set back into position. On either side, we find the electrically adjustable, heated and ventilated sports seats, upholstered here in leather with the optional Aston Martin wings embroidered instead of DBS. These have darker sections at the shoulders and headrest. Memory and movement controls for these can be found on each side of the central column. To move into the back, the leather pull here needs to be raised and held while the seats slide themselves forward. The DBS is set up in a 2+2 configuration with somewhat limited space in the rear. It is formed of 2 full and fixed leather seats. There's also a speaker centrally, found where the rear seatbelts are fixed, and above this a single white LED reading light. Once finished in the rear, the seats can be returned to their original positions in the same way as they can be brought forward. We can now take a look at the car's remaining storage capacity. The boot lid can be opened using the key, the button inside and the button here. It is self-supported by 2 struts, with the warning triangle seen above. Moving down, we find 2 air vents for the Airblade 2 system. These channel air through to the opening at the rear. The DBS has a boot capacity of 270 litres. Taking a closer look, there are illuminated indented sections on either side, with the pack to the left carrying tyre repair and reinflation equipment. Once finished with, the boot lid can then be manually closed. We can now move inside briefly to view the final few features. Looking up, the headliner is finished in the same extended leather with contrast stitching and piping. Alcantara in different colours can also be spec'd here. There are well-sized sunshades with vanity mirrors on either side. Centrally, we find 2 white LED reading lights with the microphones for the car's hand-free system, and below, the auto-dimming rearview mirror. So that concludes my in-depth exterior and interior tour and exhaust video of this 2019 Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. Thanks again to HRO and Aston Martin Reading, who currently have this and many other new and used models for sale. All their contact details can be found in the description below. Please subscribe for the latest content, and until next time, thanks for watching.